My name is Bill McDonald of the Charlotte County Libraries and History, and welcome to Ode to Local Writers. Our guest is Ginger Kuenzel, and she is from Englewood, and she is originally from a small town in New York, upstate New York, in the Adirondack Mountain area. Welcome, Ginger, to our Ode to Local Writers.
Thank you.
And what was it like growing up in the small town near the Adirondack Mountains?
Well, it was interesting. It's a resort town, so in the summer the population balloons, just like here in the winter. And but in the winter up there, it got very sparsely populated. So we had very small classes in school. Mm-hmm. In fact, the school doesn't exist anymore. The classes got too small, and so the kids go to the next town to school now.
Exactly. And what drew you to writing, or how did you get interested in the art and practice of writing?
Well, I've always enjoyed writing. As a kid, I would create plays and stories with friends and a cousin. And after I finished college, I majored in political science, which has a lot of writing. I actually moved to Munich, and I was a journalist there for about 20 years. Oh, wow. So that's one type of writing. And then when I came back to the States, I worked in corporate communications, again in a big city in Boston. So I went from a small town to Munich, the city, then to Boston. So I've lived in both. And so between corporate communications writing, journalism writing, and now this book, it's a lot of different kinds of writing, and I like them all.
Oh, great. And have there been any particular writers or authors that have influenced your work?
Yeah, so I love Garrison Keillor, Lake Wobegon days, and I also like Dave Barry and Irma Bombeck, David Sedaris, more the humor style. Yep, yeah.
And I believe you've written a book called Downtown.
That's correct.
And please tell us about it.
So when I was a journalist in Munich, one of my jobs was with a magazine that was written in German, but it was written in English for Germans who were learning to speak English. So it was all about, not only in English, but it was about people and places in English-speaking countries. So when I moved back to the States, they asked me to write a regular column from the States called Life in America, which I've been doing since 2005. Every month. And when I moved back to the small town, I didn't really have a lot of input except what was going on in that small town. So I started writing about the little town. And so this book really is based on a lot of those columns. And it's what I call creative nonfiction because it's based on fact, but I elaborate a little.
Yeah, punch it up a little, maybe.
Punch it up.
Find the stretch the humor.
A little bit, yep.
Absolutely. Would you care to read something from it, or?
I would love to. Yes, thank you. And also want to thank you all for having this series and connecting authors with the community, because this book really is about the sense of community in small towns. And I'd like to read the dedication, which explains that and is the only serious part of this book. So I will read that, and then I will read more the humorous part. So Downtown is a tribute to the people in small towns across America who are the threads and the dye in the fabric of our society, holding it together and giving it color. They are the ones who run the small businesses, volunteer as emergency services personnel, organize 4th of July parades, drive neighbors to doctor's appointments, and raise funds to help the less fortunate. In working together to build their communities, the people of America's small towns don't let their political differences divide them. They work shoulder to shoulder with their neighbors, they find solutions, and when necessary, they seek compromises. They're role models showing us how we can join together to achieve a common goal despite our differences. It is they who can lead the way in setting a new course for our country, a course toward a more caring, more humane, more united society, a course toward a future in which we are proud of all that is good about America and are working together to find viable solutions to our problems. This is who we are. So, like I say, that is the serious part, because I wanted people to know that small town sense of community and life is really important. So would you like me to?
Yeah, you mentioned you have a humorous aspect of the small towns too. That would be wonderful to hear.
I had some bookmarks made for my book, and on there I said, come along on a visit to the sleepy lakeside resort of downtown. Meet some of the quirky characters who live there, and learn how the year-round residents entertain themselves during the long winter months. You won't find downtown on any map. Let's just say it's a town that's hard to get there and harder to leave. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a lot of people that are gone. They're seasonal residents, and so they go away during the winter. And so I had a message for them in the spring one winter. So those of us who stay in downtown all year, after all, someone has to be here to roll up the sidewalks each fall, are anxiously anticipating your return. To be honest, we've grown a bit tired of hanging out with the same 13 people all winter. We need more people, but we manage. If you wonder what the heck we do in downtown all winter, let me explain. First of all, it takes us about a month to get all those sidewalks rolled up and stored. After that, since nothing in town is open, we start partying at each other's homes. But by January, that gets pretty old, and we're tired of the same old haunts all the time. That's when we start thinking about where else we could go. So many of you have such beautiful homes, and we are certain that you're happy to have us drop by occasionally. After all, it's mutually beneficial. It helps us deal with our horrific cases of cabin fever, and it helps you by giving your place that lived-in look. You know, lots of cars in the driveway, lights on all over the house, music blaring. And now, since we know that many of you will be heading back to downtown very shortly for the summer season, we thought it'd be a good idea to update you on some things you might want to know in terms of your house here and what you might want to consider bringing with you. So, Janet and Brian, we discovered that you moved your key to a new hiding place before you left last fall. You rascals. To be honest, it was a bit of a nuisance when we arrived at your place for our party, and the key wasn't in its normal spot. We were highly motivated to find it, since the mercury was hovering at around 10 below, and we needed to get inside. We located it pretty quickly, so no worries. In fact, it seemed a bit too easy, and we worried, on your behalf of course, that burglars or other undesirables might also have no trouble finding it. So we decided that it would be best to hide it in a far safer place. Good luck finding it. Susie and Peter, the liquor at your place was really not the best. In fact, we even thought we might have to go out and get some replacements. But the roads were icy, and there aren't any liquor stores anywhere close, as you know. So we had to settle for your bottom shelf stuff. But come on, do you really serve that rot gut to your guests? We suggest that you stop on the way up here and get some better quality booze. You'll need a new supply anyway, since we managed to polish it all off. It wasn't easy, but somebody had to do it, and we knew you'd thank us. Beth and Scott, did you know that the flue in your fireplace has some issues? Either that or we just couldn't figure it out. Anyway, the house got kind of smoky when we lit the fire. It sure didn't make for a fun evening, but no worries. It's just that the walls got really sooty. We felt bad, so we painted them all black, and so you probably won't even notice the soot. Of course, if you don't like the idea of black walls, you might want to bring up a few cans of another color of paint when you come. Now, Suzanne and Jack, with all your plants, we found your home to be like a tropical oasis up here in the frozen tundra of downtown. We knew you'd appreciate us coming by frequently to water, and while there, we of course made ourselves at home. We knew you'd also want us to do that. And then one evening, someone opened a drawer to get a corkscrew, and it was completely filled with water. Also, because we, of course, always take off our shoes, we're that kind of guests, we noticed that our socks were getting really wet from walking around on your carpet. That's when we realized that your plants are all fake and our watering was for naught. Now the problem is that your carpeting has taken on a kind of a musty smell. You'll be glad to know that we're not partying there anymore since we can't take that odor. By the way, you might want to bring up a bunch of towels when you come, and probably also some new carpet samples. If any others of you are worried about what might have been going on in your house over the winter, we'll be happy to stop by and check things out for you. And yes, we've already gotten the sidewalks out of storage and rolled them out again, so everything is all ready for your return. You know, it's a strange thing. Ever since I sent out that email to those people, more and more people who used to not want to be caught dead in downtown in the winter are now starting to make more and more frequent appearances during the off-season months. Heck, we might even have to stop putting away the sidewalks for the winter. Is that good?
Yeah.
Or do you want
Yeah, I think that's
another
great.
one? Or
Do you have another passage?
I have another chapter, yeah.
How many minutes are we?
You're about 12 minutes.
So about how long?
I think it might be 3 or 4. I mean, I could read it. This is the one I marked, and if it's one of the shorter ones, so
Okay.
if it's too long, we can figure it out, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's
Cut
fine.
something out?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, good. So I'm going to read you another chapter that's a little different. This is about Trapper Zeke. Here in downtown, I accept that I must share my property with wildlife. Chipmunks, squirrels, fox, raccoons, deer, and other critters, some of whom I don't really want to know about. For instance, skunks. But a skunk is not something to be ignored. So when I discovered one living beside my house, everyone told me, call Trapper Zeke. When Zeke showed up a few days later, I showed him the hole where I thought the skunk had taken up residence. He stroked his beard and looked skeptical. It might be difficult to trap, Zeke told me, since this isn't the only entry or exit for him. But Zeke proceeded to set up his have-a-heart trap, a metal cage that catches the animal without hurting it. He built a kind of makeshift tunnel outside the hole. Zeke explained that the skunk would smell the bait and the horrific-smelling liquid that he referred to as the lure and be led right into the trap. As one wall of the tunnel, he used a metal sign that he had brought along. It read, "No trespassing." "Oh, do you think that's smart, this no trespassing sign?" I teased. "We want the skunk to go into the cage, right?" Zeke looked at me briefly, then continued his work. "Ma'am," he said, rather matter-of-factly, "skunks can't actually read." At this point, I thought that he must take me for a complete idiot, or maybe he was just as much of a tease as I am. I had never met a trapper before, and I was eager to learn about their trade. I started asking questions, and he seemed pleased that I was interested in the art of trapping, and not just some squeamish city slicker who couldn't deal with wild animals living so close by, which was kind of the case. Zeke said he's been trapping since he was a kid. His explanation of just how much he loves trapping was a gem. "Ever seen a dog hanging out the car window, tongue a-dangling, and ears pinned back by the wind? Is there any happier being than that? That's me when I'm trapping." "It gets him up and out on cold winter mornings," he added. "I used to hunt, but when you hunt, you might wake up, look at the thermometer, and decide to go back to sleep. With trapping, you gotta be out there every day checking your traps. It wouldn't be humane to leave the animals in the trap any longer than necessary." Zeke explained that there are 2 kinds of trapping licenses, nuisance trapping and commercial trapping. "I guess all skunk trapping is nuisance trapping," I said. "They're certainly a big nuisance, and you don't see a lot of women rushing to buy skunk coats." But this wasn't always the case, according to Zeke. Skunk used to be passed off as Alaskan sable, and it was a prized fur until the early 1950s, when the courts ruled that customers must be informed if something had skunk parts in it. That put a pretty quick end to the skunk trade. We then got into the topic of beaver, of which we also have plenty here in these parts. Every school child knows that the early American settlers were always out trapping beaver. I never really thought too much about what they did with it, but of course Zeke knew. They shipped it to Europe, where it was turned into felt for hats, including the popular top hat. When silk hats came into vogue in the 19th century, it was very good news for the beavers. It was also good for the hatters, many of whom had become mad over time, poisoned by the mercury used in felt processing. Hence the term Mad Hatter. Who would have thought that my encounter with Zeke would be so educational? Now you want to know, did we catch the skunk? Well, no, but we did catch a raccoon. They can also be very pesky and clever enough to open a trash can and strew trash all over your property. In the end, I thought to myself, catching one raccoon or even one skunk really wasn't going to solve any problems for me. There would always be more. I'll just have to learn to live with my wild neighbors.
Okay, so So now, do you want to say?
Where to get it? Where to get the book?
Yes.
Or how do you want me to wrap it up?
So wrap it up with like, so something about small town living, and then if you're interested in reading more, you can find the book at your local library because it will be added. And
Should I say this library? Because it won't be at every local library, right?
well, but they can get it.
Oh, they can order it, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Charlotte County Libraries then, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
You have it in Sarasota County too, though.
Yeah, I did give one to Elsie Quirk.
Okay. Well, since it's Charlotte County, you can say your local Charlotte County library.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Or ask for it, and then the people will order it, right? Is that how you get books into the library? Is people ask for them?
Actually, we could have Bill ask you where people could find
That
it.
makes sense, I think. Yeah.
But I'm trying to think how we wrap you up. Well, actually, that would be good just to say, okay, so we'll just go with Bill saying that was great, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Where could people get?
If someone's interested in reading more of your book, where could we find it?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, Ginger, that was a wonderful story about skunks and the eccentric folks that live in the small town. Where can one find your book? How can they get a copy of it?
So the Charlotte County Library System has it, so you can always borrow it from your local library here in Charlotte County. I also have a website that you can go through to order the book, and that is www.utopianstate.com. And yeah, I hope everybody will enjoy it, and really enjoyed being here, meeting you all and talking about it.
Great having you on Ode to Local Writers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger.